Hello everyone, and welcome back to my reading of Fate Prototype Fragments of Sky Silver Volume 4. We move on to the second part. As a reminder, or if you for some reason didn't watch the first video, I am both reading this for the first time as well as doing editing. Thank you to those who left some comments on the first one there. A lot of those, it's nice to again get just a bunch of eyes on it, because then we can kind of work together and, see when I accidentally put two spaces, which, yeah, I hate those too. So thank you for that, along with other little things. So I greatly appreciate all these eyes on it and opinions and whatnot. We're moving on with the first actual chapter, Dear My Hero, Act 1. Okay, so again, we're looking to be learning a lot more about Archer and his master, who I know nothing about at this point. So let's get going. February 1991 AD, 8 days prior to the decisive battle at the temple above Tokyo Bay. In the corner of a small izakaya near Akihabara Station's Showadori exit sat a man and a woman. They had been there for nearly an hour, exchanging words and mugs of beer. He was a sturdy man and well into his 20s. Any who saw him would clearly take a second to admire his well-trained physique. His nationality was unclear. Yo, same! He could pass for a Japanese person, but just as easily could be mistaken for Middle Easterner or South American. Oh my god, dude, yo, I get it, man. He had deeply chiseled features and a skin that was tan to the point it was almost dark. Okay, maybe in the summer. Maybe in the summer. The woman was a Caucasian. Now, do we say a Caucasian or she was Caucasian? I don't actually know. Because we say someone is like un-Asian, but that's a question, isn't it? I don't know. Maybe I'll get some opinions on that, because it's correct, but I don't think I've ever referred to someone as a Caucasian, The woman was a Caucasian with a youthful appearance, seemingly in her 20s. She still had a powerful aura of girlhood about her. The white lace band adorning her bright red hair suited her well. With the right outfit, she could easily pass for someone in her mid-teens. She had a childlike face with large emerald eyes and a bright smile. Prosit. That means like cheers in a language, right? I'm gonna look that up. What is prosit? To toast. It's Swedish. Standard Swedish response when someone sneezes. Or is it German? Wait, the word is of German origin. Oh, it's Latin? What language is it? Oh no, it's German. Okay, so it's German for cheers. Okay, got it. I like how you can't see any of that. I love how everything is like left side on Google, but middle when you're editing a document. Okay, so it's German. Got it. Prosit, she said, her second large mug in hand. I will say the fact that the very first thing we see for the German person is that they're drinking. Yeah. Cheers, he replied, clinking his own against it. Their appearances each gave off youthful impressions. 10 of 10 people would guess they were around college age. Okay. I know what they're saying, but that's a bit weird, right? It's kind of a weird way to say it. Nah, you know what? It's weird. But it's kind of funny. I kind of like it. Larry, 10, let's say 10 out of 10 people, right? 10 out of 10 people would have guessed they were around college age. If they were walking out in the city, they'd likely be mistaken for a couple of exchange students. In fact, the college girl who'd been working part-time as a waitress at this bar for half a year assumed they were a loving couple at first glance, and the impression didn't change even after overhearing fragments of their conversation. It wasn't unusual to see young foreigners in this part of town. Oh yeah, Akihabara? Oh my god, that's where you almost find foreigners more than anywhere. The electronics district. Foreigners often stop there to find duty-free goods. That's what we're calling those? Okay. And the number of young people visiting for computers was growing. Oh, I guess in 1991 that it wouldn't be as much of the boom at this point, right? There weren't many foreign tourists in the Showadori area specifically, since it was on the opposite side of the station from where the electronics district was, but they weren't entirely absent, so it was a common sight. Yet something felt special about them. Their vibe, maybe? Japanese sake is quite interesting. The feeling of I need to okay, yeah. The feeling of it going down your throat. It's nice. Pilsner beer actually originated in Europe, not Japan. We call that sensation throat feel. Remember that? She laughed as she told him. The man nodded, his eyes clear. I see. It's got a great throat feel. He downed it in a single gulp. The more their empty mugs kept piling up all the way to the sky, the more their dishes did the same. Their expressions were bright and brimming with life, simply dazzling. The izakaya owners remembered them in particular and recounted their story to customers anytime the opportunity would present itself. He often used them as material in drunken lectures, saying they were both surely so young, but still managed to enjoy life as if having a talent for it. How the listless youth of today could stand to learn to drink more, and so on. Regardless, lively, cheery, they were a pair who radiated positive energy and were beloved by those around them. Okay, like I have a local izakaya, and like yeah, like when the owner starts to know you and you go in for drinks and you're just getting food, it kind of goes so hard. I understand what they say when they're like she looks like she could be young or older. I get that, right? She does have that sort of vibe. But that is a freaking massive thing of beer. That thing's huge. Oh my god. And they got some, looks like some karaage, looks like some, I'm assuming that's just egg wraps there, tamagoyaki. That's solid, but you gotta go with the classic. You gotta get some edamame with it. Well now, this city's pretty big. Lots of buildings and people. Interesting too. The way you use those iron boxes to get around was strange to me at first, but it's got a certain charm once you get used to it. And then there's that other thing. What thing? She tilted her head. Her hair swayed along. The steel dragon. Spoken with a straight face. A moment passed. If someone had been watching them closely, they might have noticed the odd pause, but both the part-timer and the owner had their attention diverted elsewhere. Nighttime was peak business hours, after all. They were quite busy. You mean the train? Her smile never faltered. That's what it was. I like that too. The stations are like a dragon's nest. That's a fun way of putting it. People don't exactly come in and out of a dragon's nest, though, do they? A fair point. He laughed. He had a likable smile that suggested an earnest nature. Compared to the Azidahaka. Wait, isn't that what frickin' Kodomine has in FGO? Wait, Kodomine Servant FGO. Isn't that his noble phantasm? Isn't it, Aski Dahaka? I think so, and if so, we probably want to make sure it's the same spelling. Wait. No, it was Zazangi Anger Minyu, but what am I thinking of? Where's the composite spirit part? Is it not here? Dahaka? Am I wrong? Oh, it's Azhi Dahaka. Yeah, let's go with the same sort of writing for it, just because it makes more sense to keep things the same. AZI. So yeah, let's go with Control V. I'm just gonna Control F real quick. Dahaka. Is there another one? Nope. Okay. See, that's the sort of thing that I like to make sure. Like, as much as I dislike, the only exception, of course, being Artoria, I will use Artoria. But for other things like that, I definitely prefer to use what the official materials use. Yeah, compared to the Azuki, of course, there's a chance it's the wrong one, but I don't think so, right? Because they're talking about the dragon, yeah. Compared to the Azi Dahaka that rampaged during King Feraydun's reign, these modern dragons seem far more gentle. They might swallow people whole, but they spit them out totally undigested. Yeah, trains don't eat people. Nodding in agreement, she took a bite of freshly fried chicken. Crunch. You know what? I'm gonna be that bitch. I'm gonna say some freshly fried karaage, right? Because I'm gonna be real. I feel like that word is well known enough, and it's a specific vibe. Crunch. Yum, she murmured before taking another sip from the large beer. Then another sip. You know what? I'm going to say followed by, right? Followed by another sip. Oh, yeah, I guess Tokyo has extensive rail networks above and below ground. Is it different back in your country? Depends on the city. We have the Stadbahnen, but they don't crisscross like this. What's that? It's a Stadbahnen. Stadbahnen. Die Stadbahnen ist ein schneinengebundenes und elektrisches angetriebenes Transportsystem. Okay. It's just the German word for the rail system. Okay. So it's not for one specific city. Okay, well, first in Berlin and then Vienna. So, because she's probably talking about Berlin. Okay. So I've written that one then. Cool. As she spoke, her gaze shifted slightly away from him, just a bit upward. Was she recalling something? The past? Someplace she'd once been? But I was a bit surprised. By this place. Akihabara, I mean. Is that right? Yeah. Nodding. The station is pretty large, but there's a total lack of restaurant and bars in front of it. True enough. There are lots of duty-free electronics shops, but absolutely no beer halls or anything of the sort. Now, I'm not saying they need a Hofbräu. Wait, is that a hot bar? Is that what they call a hot bar in German? Hofbräu? Oh no, Bavarian beer enjoyment. Royal brewer. Okay. Okay, interesting. Again, it's you're not seeing any of that. I'm just reading it. A slight look of dissatisfaction crossed her face. A very slight look. There was no trace of genuine irritation, just a performed pout. Well, anyway, we found a good spot to drink anyway. Well, whatever, we found a good place to drink anyway. Yeah, the beer's good. Has a good throat feel, he laughed. The food's great too. Izakayas are the best, she laughed too. They were a pair who laughed and drank their fill. And then, Elsa, I'm glad you're my master. What's that supposed to mean? You want another round or something, Archer? Well, you're not wrong there. Hello, ma'am. Another round, please. 2 large mugs of beer. So remarkable. Bold and fearless in the heat of battle. I'm liking you more and more. They weren't lovers. They weren't exchange students. They hadn't come to on a date or to study. As servant and master, the two had come to Tokyo to fight the other 6 servants in the battle to the death. Here's to our 3rd round. Cheers! The red-haired woman who laughed and drank heartily. Elsa Saijo was half Japanese, half German. That's a very common archetype of character in, I was gonna say Fate, but kind of all anime. She often seemed younger than she was, but she really was in her late 20s, just shy of 30. She had dual nationalities, Japanese and West German. The term West German didn't actually mean much anymore in 1991. Well, that's kind of crazy to think about. After all, her homeland in Germany had achieved its reunification between its east and west halves just 5 months prior in October. What if they made like a Fate that was like one of those 7 on each side Grail Wars for East and West, Berlin. That'd be nuts, actually. Whew. She drank her first 2 glasses like normal, but downed nearly half of this one in a single swig. Had she inherited her tolerance from her German father? Or was it from her mother, who was born and raised in the Tohoku region, where Japan grew its rice? Either way, her parents had certainly granted her a gift. Alongside her magic circuits and meager magic crest, it was passed down to her from her parents. Did you like the rolled omelet? Should we order another one? It's great, please do. Sure. Hey miss, another rolled omelet please, with pollock. Okay. Raising her hand to call the part-timer, Elsa had a thought in the back of her mind. It was similar. The izakaya wasn't much different from the first floor of a Hofbrauhaus from back home. I'm sorry. Okay, I cannot read. I cannot read like German words without putting on an accent to it, and I apologize. I think it's because they're just too close to English that I can't not do it, you know? The food and drinks weren't bad. The drunken revelry and chaos that inevitably comes from it, more or less the same. The only real differences were the size of the buildings and the music that played in it. Of course, an izakaya would never have a live band for its toasts. Yeah, it's not much different. Every city was the same. Every country was the same. Elsa recognized the world as one where there was no such thing as an entirely foreign land. She knew this firsthand. Well, with her cover job as photojournalist, she had traveled to countless countries and seen all sorts of things. Palestine, Ireland, countries across Latin America, Cambodia. She had crossed paths with countless people, met countless children, and seen countless lives. According to her father and other magi, everything born from the spiral of the root was part of a single world. People rejoiced over food and drink, laughed, made conversation with their friends, and adorable children could always be seen frolicking around. But then, right beside them, a precarious world awaited them, where hell lay with its mouth agape, teeth stained red. Everywhere was the same. Right there, 5 inches from where they sat sharing drinks, hell was 5 minutes away. The sound of flesh being pierced, the sound of flesh being torn. We got synonyms? Do we got synonyms here? I'm not a big fan of using it twice here. Flesh, synonym. What do we got for a synonym for flesh? Oh, you know what? Yeah, the sound of meat being torn. That's a good one there. Right? Gunshots, explosions, screams, knives, hatchets, rage, resentment, envy. Anyone could be devoured by hell. I'm going to do capital. Do we do capital? Because it's not talking about the place itself. It's talking about the state. So no, we'll go lowercase. Someone was always being torn apart by some cruel beast, and most people, herself included, would always look the other way. The difference between there and hell. Okay, now in this case. Okay, no, it is talking about... Yeah. You know what? Okay, wait. Do you capitalize hell? I'm legitimately curious. Hell is capitalized when it's a proper noun. That is, you capitalize it when referring to a specific place. Yeah. Yeah, I would say so. From how this is writing it, yeah. A mere 5 inches, a mere 5 minutes. It was nearly the same, no matter where she was. The brightness in Elsa's eyes clouded over, likely because she had made an association. She recalled things she tried not to, especially when she was with this man she called Archer. She should have been more careful, but she'd let her guard down. Oh, I'm such an idiot. Cheerful, bright, lively. She always strived to be that way. Well, she tried to be. Aware. Smiling. Usually her smile was a natural result of her behavior. Her expression, generally perceived favorably by most people, even though she was meeting for the first time, was something that she prided herself on. It was probably some form of excessive self-consciousness or overconfidence, but since it was cultivated by praising someone she loved, it couldn't be helped. He noticed, didn't he? She glanced over at him. Across the table, directly opposite her, sat the tall, imposing man with brown skin. Their eyes met. His unclouded black eyes were fixated on her, entirely. What? A timid question. So he hadn't really noticed. Nothing. I was just thinking that I'd love to see this world as you've seen it. Wait. A timid question, so he hadn't noticed. What's that supposed to mean? Well, he half shrugged. Okay, so then that's... No, he's saying that then. So she said what? You know, just for clarification, I'm going to go she asked a timid question. Or she asks a timid question, right? His unclouded black eyes were fixated on her entirely. What? She asks a timid question. So he really had noticed. Okay, I see. Nothing. I was just thinking that I'd love to see this world as you've seen it. What's that supposed to mean? Well, he shrugged, half emptying his third mug. He saw right through her. His gaze, his expression, they said it all. The fact that he didn't put it into words was probably his way of being considerate. For a servant, He was so perceptive that it was infuriating. Actually, it didn't quite infuriate her. Most of the time, she even felt grateful and said so aloud, "You know, you're pretty young, but you've seen an awful lot of awful stuff, haven't you, Elsa?" She knew that. She was well aware that she'd seen things she shouldn't have. But she also recognized that the world was full of radiant things that were worthy of love. Even Magecraft was training. Even with Magecraft training as a justification, her experiences traveling the world weren't always positive. Navigating hellish situations, coming to understand modern warfare firsthand, and all the connections she'd forged with her signature smile. She gained so much, but lost so much too. No, that wasn't right. Or was it? If she had assumed that her negative experiences held just as much meaning, then she hadn't lost anything. Feeling a faint warmth spread across her cheeks, Elsa turned around. Right. It's not the world's fault. Maybe it was just her perspective that had changed. The cause of that change wasn't necessarily her travels alone. Her homeland, her hometown, that singular event where she lost what was more precious to her than anything. You're no fair. You see straight through everything, don't you, Archer? You think so? Yeah, if you didn't, you wouldn't be saying stuff like this. It really was kind of unfair. She was an ordinary human, or rather, merely a woman capable of using a little bit of magecraft. And yet, this great man before her was a hero with eyes that seemed to see straight through to her soul. He wasn't just any hero either. He was a true, genuine great hero, a legendary archer from ancient Persia. You know what? I'm going to say, because we're not talking about the servant class here, we're talking about, like, he was an archer. I'm going to go lowercase for that, right? Because, like, well, he was the he's the archer class now, but it's literally saying he was an archer. Yeah. We're talking about life experience. I should delve a bit more than he does. The thought flickered at the edge of her mind. Was the way that he spent his life, his lifestyle, more intense than hers? She was older than him by age, but he died in his 20s over 3,000 years ago and seemed far more mature than her. Plus, he hadn't even shown the slightest hint of being drunk. They had been drinking the same amount, but only her cheeks were turning faintly red. Did servants get drunk? Oh no, that wasn't it. He's even more special on that front. Oh, I don't get drunk. Not even on the wine of the gods. I'm not drunk either. Not enough to affect my combat abilities, anyway. True enough. Nodding, he gulped down the other half of his mug. He was as dependable as he looked. If she was still some innocent young girl, she may have fallen for him just by watching him drink like that. Before she refocused herself, she caught herself thinking so. Trivial feelings like that were meant to stay in the deepest corner of her consciousness. The core of Elsa Saijo had to remain alert to combat situations. Even while sharing drinks, even while laughing, even while reflecting on the nature of the world or her past, it was all incidental. Tokyo was a battlefield now, and she was a combatant. No matter how sentimental her thoughts could become, she couldn't let them become who she was. She wouldn't let them into the core of her being. Ever since she boarded her flight to Haneda Airport just a few days prior, or perhaps from the moment she had acquired the catalyst to summon Archer half a month prior, the Holy Grail War was the center of Elsa's being. I want to keep saying Eliza, but it's Elsa. You're really something. With a raise of his eyebrow, he praised her. His second expression of admiration that night, with slightly different nuance than the first. I always thought Western Magi were all uptight sticks in the mud. Yep. Do most Magi in this country follow Western traditions? Well, aside from the old school families, most who want to be on good terms with the clock tower tend to. How about yours? Same deal? Well, my family's from Germany, so... She laughed and took a bite from the first plate of rolled omelet. Munch. I don't think we're all that different from the Magi in this country, though. We're not exactly prestigious, and I'm a bit of a delinquent. She never imagined that she'd become a master in the Holy Grail War. As she spoke, a thought began to form near the center of her mind. He would surely see through this lie as well, but not yet. It was too soon. Even if his eyes saw through many things, even if the mystery possessed by inhuman heroic spirits made it possible, she wanted to put it into words properly and convey what sat deep within her. Speaking with him, who treated her like a human, she wanted to respond as a human as well. Because of that, it was 2 days later that she told him the truth for herself. Oh, I like that. I like that foreshadowing it's setting up. I'm going to take a sip of my drink here while we're here. Not beer, it's tea. Heroic spirits generally possess supernatural abilities called skills. Skills are divided into 2 types, class skills and personal skills. Class skills are granted based on one's class. Archer, its magic resistance and independent action. Casters, its item construction and territory creation. Even if a heroic spirit lacked magic resistance in their lifetime, being summoned as an archer automatically grants them magic resistance as a class skill. However, any skill is heavily dependent on, I guess because we've been using capital S. It's heavily dependent on a heroic spirit's origins. On the other hand, personal skills are more in line with the abilities that a heroic spirit inherently possesses. Legendary feats, mastered techniques. These factors have a great deal of influence on one's personal skills. Compared to the limited number of class skills, the variety of noble phantasms is quite vast. It'd be no exaggeration to say there are as many as there are heroic spirits. There's more, because many have more than one. They are the tangible manifestation of the mystery and abilities possessed by heroic spirits. I'm gonna say of the mysteries and abilities, because some of them have more than one, right? And that's not a correct term, but well, no, because mystery is right? Because mystery is like a singular term. I think that's correct for this. Yeah. Anyways, because it's not just the mystery of a heroic spirit, but mysteries, right? Maybe I'll take feedback on that too. What do you guys feel? Anyways, see you. Waved goodbye as they parted like lovers or close friends. Wait, what? Why are they saying goodbye? You're what? In front of Akihabara Station's Showadori exit, which was lined with multi-purpose buildings both large and small, the man and woman, Archer and Elsa, had just left the izakaya. After a bit of discussion, they decided they'd split up for the night. Well, he does have independent action. I haven't picked up on her trail yet, but stay alert. Right. I'll leave the hunting to you. If you encounter someone, don't pursue them too far. I know, that's my specialty. Of course. Elsa headed to her temporary lodging near Japan Rail Ochanamizu Station, which was the next station over. Yeah. Arch began to search the surrounding area for any hostile servant. Turning his back, he raised one hand and waved it back and forth. He walked out into the dimly lit night of Akihabara. This is why I was surprised. I'm like, yeah, working separately was an inherently dangerous move, and both of them understood this. If a master encountered an enemy servant, they would almost certainly be killed. Killing a massive heap of mystery like a heroic spirit was nearly impossible for any magus. Massive heap of mystery. They were a heap of mystery, but is it... Oh, I'm kind of stuck on this one. Okay, you know what? I will just flag that for later to say, come back to that. Okay. That was why masters and servants weren't supposed to separate so casually, but that wasn't always the case. Sometimes reconnaissance can be more efficient without the master involved. Other times, when facing enemy servants with wide-ranged attack power or influence, or those moving at such high speeds that they cannot keep up with ordinary magecraft, master's presence can be a significant handicap. Therefore, they would work together, or they would work separately for the time being. The reasoning was the former of the two: reconnaissance. It had only been 2 days since the summoning, after all. It'd be interesting if we drew Saber out, though. His mouth twisted into a defiant grin. Archer's form shifted in the shadows of a street corner. Light armor woven from magical energy formed around his body in a few seconds. He had a great appreciation for the modern clothing his master had picked out for him, a shirt and a hoodie, but he still felt more at ease in a combat form when moving freely. Archer sensed it instinctively. He had an awareness and recognition that he was becoming familiar with being a weapon for battle, distinct from humans or humanoid beings. Armor on his body, a great crimson great bow in his left hand. It wasn't a noble phantasm, but a spear crafted through his special creation skill. In life, he had many tools, expending time and materials to create them for himself. Now, it took only an instant. So this is what it means to be a heroic spirit. It was belated, but he began to feel it keenly. The fact that he was not a human in the proper sense. Over 3,000 years ago, the strongest warrior that served King Manuchehar, Manuchehar, I don't know, renowned as the last king of the Age of Gods in Western Asia. The man who bore the legends of battles between heroes and monsters within him as one directly descended from them. The hero who shot a single arrow from his great bow to save all of the Persian and Turkic people. The man who shot a single arrow from his great bow to save all of the Persian and Turkic peoples, that's probably just missed a who no longer existed. He was certainly him, and yet he wasn't. The self that once lived, the self that he'd once lived as was long dead. The self that existed now was, all right, better get to work. Heroic spirits, servants, weapons summoned by masters to win the Holy Grail War. Then he would act accordingly. Archer calmly surveyed from above. First, from behind the Akihabara Electronic District's exit, where there was hardly a single soul in sight. It was past 8 at night, so the city's people had already vanished. He leapt over the JR station to the rooftop of a large bicycle parking lot. There was hardly a single soul in sight, then to the rooftop of a multi-purpose building. To another. He moved above Akihabara at high speeds achieved through a series of superhuman leaps. It was an act beyond ordinary humans, yet felt scarcely different from his old life. Do I exist in this world once more, unchanged? How strange. With a touch of emotions, he scoured the streets of Akihabara, Tokyo as he leapt. Leaped, leapt, leaped, leaped. His primary focus was to detect enemies, but he directed a sliver of his consciousness inward, just as Elsa did. No enemy presence yet. Cityscapes has changed. It was the color of the night. No bloodlust yet are detected. No, I don't think people have changed much. No magical energy detected. Surely, they are like stars twinkling in the sky. He felt sandwiched between two seas of stars. Above, the starlight of the night sky. Below, the lights of Tokyo. 2 periods. It's not bad. Leaving the lone whisper in the air, he leapt onward, racing through Tokyo's sky. He didn't move aimlessly. No, it could be said that he did. He was hunting, waiting for the prey to be drawn to him. Fishing, maybe? Then, he felt the sharp presence of fangs closing in on bait. Prey. An enemy. Far sooner than he had anticipated. Were they patrolling just as he was? For the first time, Archer sensed the unique aura of a servant. It's not like bloodlust or magical energy. Yep, that's his outfit. We know this guy. We definitely know his noble phantasm, too. Nodding in understanding, while traveling at over 100 kilometers per hour in midair, he knocked an arrow onto his bowstring, released it. 1 shot, 2 shots. At almost the exact moment that he sensed its presence, he identified the figure 300 meters behind him as an enemy servant and began firing on them. Leap, fire, leap, fire. Or leap, fire, leap, fire, fire, fire. Both of them moved at high speed, leaping from rooftop to rooftop. A long-range battle through repeated leaps and bounds. Archer didn't ease up for a moment. Fatal arrows, summoned semi-automatically formed by magical energy, vanished into the Tokyo night one after another. Impressive. They're good at dodging. A whistle of admiration escaped his lips. Was his barrage of ranged attacks preventing the enemy servant from closing in? Indeed. From a certain point of view. From another, that wasn't quite it. It may have been true that he wasn't letting his enemy approach him, and one could say that they were left purely on the defensive. But the fact remained that they hadn't suffered a single scratch, let alone a fatal wound. They were pursuing him entirely unscathed, leisurely matching the pace of his leaps. The enemy servant, seemingly drawn by his diversion, apparently had some way of automatically nullifying ranged attacks. They weren't dodging. Every arrow vanished before it could strike. More accurately, they were being burned away by some kind of magecraft or skill. If that was the case, what Archer was doing could no longer be called an attack. It was merely a way of keeping an unknown adversary at bay. Should I go all out? The thought ran through his mind. He dismissed it immediately. He wouldn't go all out. He wouldn't. Even without preparing a massive stockpile of arrows, by effectively utilizing his bow and arrow creation skill to fire instantly, he could recreate his legendary technique. If he were to fill the sky with 10,000 arrows, he would kill every single person walking through the night streets of Akihabara. Of course, erasing each of his arrows individually was different from erasing 10,000 at once. The slightest miscalculation would destroy every building in Akihabara and snuff out countless lives. Oh, I see. A moment later, Archer understood. Oh, something really had changed from 3,000 years ago, aside from the people in the starry sky. The fighting spirit within his chest was certainly identical to the one he had in life, and he himself... it's still me, huh? He'd have to shelve his massive ranged attacks for the time being. To prevent revealing mystery to the public, as Elsa mentioned. No, that was beside the point. At best, he'd have to limit himself to attacking from extreme distances in more isolated areas, like the mountains or the wilderness. Whether or not such situations would conveniently arise was uncertain, but at least for now, his plan of attack just wasn't suited to the location. What then? Would he have to let them catch up to him? I guess so. He deliberately let the words flow with the wind. He stopped moving at high speed. With one final leap, he landed silently on the rooftop of an 8-story commercial building. He dispersed the impact of the fall from his soles through his entire body. He recognized that the energy that was purely physical, without any sort of mystical element, had a minimal effect on the servant body. Still, he had to absorb the shock or he would have instantly destroyed the building, which was likely owned by innocent people. Slowly, he straightened his posture and turned. The enemy servant pursuing him was already within his line of sight, no search needed. About 30 meters away, on the roof of the adjacent 6-story building. Clad in silver armor. Beautiful. A creature of the night. Beautiful enough to steal his gaze. Huh? Okay, well, I'm not thinking that, okay, it's not Saber then. Archer felt it was natural. This being did not belong beneath the light of day. Not in the sense of being a monstrous phantasmal species, but simple in the sense that the stillness of the night suited her perfectly. He understood that she was a woman of shadows. Oh wait, are we talking assassin? Oh, no, Lancer, it says down there, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, because, like, woman of shadows, I wouldn't say that from her. A woman of the night, that has implication, but, you know. Delicate silver armor beautifully accentuated her feminine form. She carried an impossibly massive and heavy spear effortlessly. There was a single expression on her face. Gloom. That was all. She was a woman who had chosen to abandon any trace of radiance, cheer, or brightness, anything of that sort. She could be described as Elsa's polar opposite. Despite sharing everything with the woman who could still smile even after bearing witness to countless hells, she was also entirely different. Archer understood. He saw. He could see through. The skill in his servant's eyes compelled him to do so. Third-ranked servant. Her voice reached him. She didn't seek dialogue, just confirmation. But... And then there's you. Oh, okay. That's her. Okay, that's Lancer talking, right? And then there's you. The 4th-ranked one, Lancer. Pretty big spear for a woman. I guess that must be your noble phantasm. Intentional reply, even though he understood that she likely wouldn't respond. Correct. She wasn't all gloom after all. Her expression had changed. Despite having just finished a split-second battle to the death ever so faintly, she smiled. An ordinary man would have lost on the spot. You know what? I'm gonna do this to the, yeah, I like that as a full sentence, right? An ordinary man would have lost on the spot to the smile, beautiful smile of a beautiful woman. Archer, you know what? Let's go. Archer, however, was no ordinary man. He had keen eyes. He may not have sensed the depths of sorrow and grief in her smile, but he could judge if she was someone who could extend a hand, but she was someone... Wait, but he could judge if she was someone he could extend a hand to or not in an instant. Of course, it was the latter. In all likelihood, this battle between us is the opening skirmish of the Holy Grail War. Yes. And now we've got a taste of what a fight between heroic spirits is like, huh? Yes. He surely understood. This level of fight wouldn't settle anything. Even aside from the fact they were both hiding their trump cards, this was far from a serious fight to the death. Even so, they had more than enough power to wipe out every living thing in the city. Even if a horde of steel tanks came charging in from Tokyo's garrison, modern weapons couldn't kill them. And yet they alone could crush the city, its people, and its weapons without mercy. All it would take was a few stray arrows. Even though they were transient guests from beyond this world, servants were absolute destroyers. That was who they were. That was the Holy Grail War. An unprecedented large-scale ritual employing the extraordinary mystery of 7 heroic spirits. Not through knowledge granted to him by the Holy Grail, through a more visceral kind of understanding. Archer had come to grasp this fact profoundly. The woman standing before him likely felt the same. A colossal clash of heroic spirit power, the embodiments of miracles and the masterful feats chronicled in heroic tales, reincarnations of mythology that trampled upon the world and warped the laws of physics. Tokyo, this far eastern city, was their stage. From that point forward, they would aim for their own wishes and desires. Okay, so they go mysteries IES. Okay, I see there. Okay, we'll go with that then. Okay. Skills are profoundly potent mysteries, but they are not absolute. There's something that could be called absolute, though: the Noble Phantasm. The Noble Phantasm is the critical factor that determines the outcome of the Holy Grail War. Often taking the form of legendary equipment that was sung of in the tales of each heroic spirit, it is truly immense. Noble Phantasms. Ultimate power forged from mankind's collective fantasies. While they are primarily offensive in nature, that is not the absolute rule. Their profound impact on the course of battle is nonetheless undeniable. Much like mystic codes with limited functionality, Noble Phantasms are activated through the channeling of magical energy and the utterance of their true names. Their power can be described as tremendous. An offensive Noble Phantasm will almost certainly obliterate its target without mercy, be it a heroic spirit, a magus, or even one that has never touched upon the world of magecraft. Take heed. Though there are many precautions to take when advancing the Holy Grail War, handling Noble Phantasms is the most critical, is one of the most critical factors in seizing victory. An excerpt from an old notebook. A wish for the Holy Grail. A desire. Elsa Saijo certainly had a desire that burned within her. Her motive was straightforward. She embraced it because she had seen hell. Her wish. She embraced it because she feared hell. Her desire. And do we want to do you know what? I think capital just looks better here. Yeah. Might go back and make them all capital, honestly. Put very plainly, perhaps she had become afraid. A few years ago, at the request of a photographer friend, she had come to a certain country. Oh no. She had witnessed genocide perpetrated by the regime there. Countless skulls, corpses of children and adults alike in piles, all ethics and common sense completely destroyed, collapsed, trampled upon, no trace of the place that was once called an oasis, merciless violence, forced starvation, all because of the race, because they were intelligent, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million killed, death, terror. Put bluntly, Elsa went mad. So, okay, so it says foreign soil. So I assume it's, like, it might be with, like, you know what, I'm not in a place where I can safely say what it is. Like, as in, I do not know intelligence-wise if there's a one that would be, like, 1980 something that this could be. My only thought is, Holodomor date. When was the Holodomor? Okay, that was 1932. Yeah, that was like way too soon. Right? Because she witnessed it being perpetrated. I don't want to look. You know what? I don't. Not on YouTube. I'll maybe look this up after, but well, maybe, 1980s, 1990s genocides. We'll look that up after. Not right now. Anyways, because she remembered. Remember what had happened to her once. Oh. The event that she thought was locked deep away, deep within her heart, burst forth the moment she faced the hell that appeared before her on foreign soil. She couldn't help it, couldn't stop it any longer. She never wanted to see those things again. She didn't want to remember. Death, loss, the tragedy of losing what was precious to her. She wished, she prayed with burning intensity. And the Holy Grail, slumbering in the far east, answered her. In the form of the command spell that manifested above her right breast, it told her, come forth, wish, told her to desire. Elsa obeyed the Holy Grail. She rose with her wishes light and her desire as her companion. I'm going to say as her light. Yeah. Despite being the heir to a declining family of magi that were far from prestigious, she declared her participation in the Holy Grail War, a ritual of scale that was even the center of the Magecraft world. That was of such a scale that even the center of the Magecraft world, the clock tower, was involved. She exhausted everything she had to obtain a catalyst to summon a legendary hero from Western Asia, bringing forth the treasured artifact that should have been left to decay with her family. She even betrayed her parents. Who, more than being magi, were human beings who had raised her with all the love in their hearts by preparing many abhorrent, non-mystical weapons of modern science. Wait, what? Modern science that she could get her hands on. Wait, what? Had raised her with all the love by preparing as many of them that she could get her hands on. Pistols, grenades. Whoa, okay. Things like that. Simply to fulfill her desperate wish. Simply to erase the event that she was forced to recall after seeing hell. Again, yeah, that. If they say like that hell or something like that, then I wouldn't. But for this, like, no, that's hell. The wound that kept aching within her heart. And so she summoned it. The most powerful force, an embodiment of mystery itself. Her trump card in the Holy Grail War. She summoned her servant, Archer. He should have been a heroic spirit far beyond anything considered human. Was much more He who should have been was much more human than she had anticipated. She was taken aback, but she was glad too. Archer treated her as a human being, as a woman, and faced her directly. It brought her immense relief and peace. Became fast friends, being able to converse freely without reservation, but his clairvoyance skill was A. His dark eyes surely saw through the selfishness that lurked behind her smile and into her wounds that were so deep they could never be healed. Wounds, emotional wounds, ones that pierced, gouged, and shattered the very core of Elsa Saijo's being. So maybe that was why I ended up this way. 5 days after the battle between Archer and Lancer, the first battle of the Holy Grail War. Oh, we're jumping right ahead. 3 days before the final battle in the temple over Tokyo Bay. Oh, and that's the final battle. Okay, so that, again, it's good to remind myself sort of where we are. She had a single reason to venture into these cold winter mountains. She had intel that said a Magus family somewhere in Okutama had severed contact with the outside almost completely since the Holy Grail War began. Elsa deduced that someone from that family, the Asemi family, was one of the masters granted a command spell. She and Archer set out to attack their base. Within hours, they had found it. Well, not the base itself, but the presence of a servant belonging to the Asemi family, or another master's servant who, like herself, had entered the mountains in search of the Asemi base. Conveniently, they were alone. No sign that their master was nearby. Strike them, Archer. The deep green of the rugged mountains was his domain. Elsa was certain that he could do it. All right, watch out for their master, though. Of course. Her offensive and defensive equipment were sufficient. Even if she encountered a powerful, color-ranked Magus from the clock tower. So this is a thing that part of me thinks, should there be an explanation for that? But part of me is also like, no, it's cool to make you go, what does that mean, Because we know, at least. She had calculated that she could hold out for several minutes. She was far from perfect, though, but she had taken every possible precaution. Several minutes would be enough to escape. Elsa knew that she wasn't a top-ranked Magus. She would focus on survival alone. If she died, the wish would be meaningless. She had made this firm resolution the moment she had bought her plane ticket to Tokyo. However, whether she could escape depended entirely on the enemy master. She could unleash a wind flame formal craft. Wait, I don't think that's the phrase we use anymore, right? I don't think so. Isn't that formal? Wait, formal craft. Is that a phrase that we still use? Formal craft. Wait, no, it is? Is that a phrase? Master the basics. Okay, God, there's so many ads on here. Okay, no, it's a phrase. But that one did it as 2, right? Yeah, that one does it as 2, so we'll switch that off there. Okay. She can unleash a wind-type formal craft to test the waters. I forgot about that. You know what? No, you know what it was? Formal dress. That's what they called mystic codes there for a bit. Yeah, in extra they were formal dress, and so that's why I got that mixed up there. I want to stop the Holy Grail War. She remembered the image of the boy with the mystic eyes she had met on the Akihabara streets on the second day, but she shook it off. Oh, that was probably earlier on, and I completely forgot about that because it's been so long. The Holy Grail War could not be stopped. She was there to have her wish granted. She wouldn't hesitate again. If she crossed paths with him again, she would kill him without hesitation. Right. I can't afford to hesitate anymore, she thought. A fraction of a second of hesitation. In that moment, Elsa was processing something like emotion, something that should have been hidden away in the darkest corner of her mind, away from combat, which was right at the center of her consciousness. At that point, her fate may have already been decided. With her consciousness realigned for battle, she began to act. Vision clear. She prepared herself with magecraft, casting a slight enhancement spell on her eyes. It was probably child's play compared to Archer's clairvoyance, but she couldn't afford to be picky with it. Besides, this would be enough for the situation. The enemy servant had yet to notice Archer's presence. If she had struck before the ranged attack was launched, she would certainly gain the initiative. There was a world of difference between an enemy moving through the mountains while remaining vaguely alert of their surroundings and her, who was searching the mountains with the assumption there was an enemy there. She focused her consciousness on her vision. Searching for the enemy, she would find them before they found her, no matter what. 1 minute passed. Oh, this is when she finds Manaka, right. 2 minutes passed. Over 3 kilometers away, Archer opened fire. Just then, Elsa had spotted the enemy master before they could notice her. Huh? A girl? Indeed, she was a delicate young girl. Gentle, beautiful, pure and innocent. She wasn't close in age at all. She looked nothing like that much younger child. Oh, wait, she looked What? She looked nothing like that much younger child? Who's that? That's confusing to me. Watching the girl watching her hum a tune in the distance, meeting her gaze. The instant she caught something deep within her clear eyes, Elsa's sight enhancement spell was completely shattered. Instead... Oh, wait, what? Okay, I get what it is. You know what? I'm gonna put emphasis on that much younger child. Yeah. Instead, something forced itself into her vision. I love you, Mommy. The day she went to pick him up from the unlicensed daycare and they walked home hand in hand. I love you, Mommy. I shouldn't say these voice lines, oh my god. The day she saw that adorable sight, joyfully giggling while hugging a soccer ball. I love you, Mommy. The last time he said it, even though speaking must have been horribly painful. Ah. That smile she thought was buried deep within her heart. Something that she remembered the day she saw hell, yet vowed never to remember during the Holy Grail War. The most precious thing to her. Her beloved, her child. How could she forget? No matter how deeply it tore at your heart, she could never forget her own child. She loved him more than anything. I love you, Mommy. I love your smile. Her son, who died before he could even reach 5 years old. Ah, Luca. The wound in her heart, the source of her wish and desire, her child, her beloved lost long ago. That was why she couldn't endure that was why she couldn't endure in that other country either. That was why she wished, prayed, please grant salvation to all mothers and children. Luca. An undeniable wound, an undeniable opening. Because of that, at that moment, Elsa made a grave mistake. Her perception warped, her consciousness and all of her thoughts were distorted, causing her to believe that her delusions were the truth. The delicate girl dancing across her field of vision, who seemed to walk through the air, was likely exerting some sort of power, which was a factor in it. Either way, Elsa's Holy Grail War came to an end then and there. Facing this enemy master, the girl Elsa had a thought. Oh God. Oh, she just saw that Monaka was a child and she can't kill the child and that's it. It's over. Oh, that was like the worst matchup. That's like when I would play Amaterasu in Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and my friend would lose because he's like, well, I never want to hear a dog getting hurt. And so like, I'm not going to attack you. Oh my God. She must have been someone's beloved child, swept up into the Holy Grail War. I'm sorry, Archer. I'm sorry, oh yeah. Oh, that was, okay. Ruined. Oh yeah, no, she's just gonna lose now. That's it, it's over. As countless droplets fell from her emerald eyes, the woman named Elsa Saijo, in that very moment, fell into the clutches of a demon in the form of a girl. Damn. Damn, wow. Oh my God, what a bad matchup for you. It's just over, huh? It's just over. I think I'm going to do one chapter at a time for these. And it just comes down to, boy, it's going to make it easy when I read the comments for editing. It's as simple as that. Plus, then I could do more videos, you know, rather than doing them every now and then, you know, have a bit more consistency. So, yeah, thank you all for watching, guys. We will see you next time for the next chapter as we get to Dear My Hero Act 2. I'm assuming we're gonna maybe go to the perspective of the archers or the lancer side, because I can't see much more with the archer side with her realizing that's it, it's over, right? She can't win. I don't know. We'll see. Again, if you see any comments or something that you're like, hey, I think you should change this, let me know. I won't always take all the advice, but I'll take a lot of it and consider it for sure. So thank you all for watching, guys. We'll see you next time for some more. Ciao. Yo.